Oh, it smells like pee in here too. All right. Well, hello, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank you very much for coming out to our interactive animal experience. My name is Steve, and we're with Prairie Exotics, and these are just some of our animals that we brought to share with you guys today. We do these events across Manitoba to bring our animals out to share with people, educate them about what makes some of these awesome animals great pets, and some you want to stay away from. And also helps us generate some income to take care of all of these animals. Most of them that you see out here are rescued or surrendered animals. We did not go out and buy these guys at pet stores. They are other people's pets, and for whatever reasons, they decided to give them to Steve and Kenzie. We take care of them during the week. We get to go to schools, daycares. On the weekends, we do birthday parties. We do all the fairs in the summer. We have a lot of fun getting to take our animals out and share them with the public and help them learn about how amazing some of these creatures are. Now, this one here is my friend Flaming Hot Cheeto. Flaming Hot Cheeto is a bearded dragon from Australia. She's called that because, well, she's got the beard under here and she's in the dragon family of lizards. Now, having a beard is not so great for the lady dragons, unfortunately, but the boys, they use that to show off. Kind of when I flex my muscles big and strong, the boys puff out their chin like a big balloon, and it turns black. If they're orange, red, yellow, green, brown, whatever color the dragon is, it turns jet black. And then they do a little silly head bob up and down, back and forth, little push-ups to show how big and strong they are. And the girls see that and think it's kind of cool. They throw their hands up in the air. They wave them like they just don't care. And they dance back and forth. But if they don't like the boys showing off being silly, this tail now becomes a weapon. They'll use it as a whip and try to hit them with it. Or they would try and body check them like in hockey with the little spikes on the side. Now, these spikes, they're a little prickly and tickly. They move back and forth. But what they can do is if they're getting picked up and squished, or worse, someone's trying to eat them, they'll take a big breath, puff out like a puffer fish, and they get spit out or put down. It's a great defense to make sure no one's going to eat my little friend here. Now, speaking of eating, do we think my friend had a big plate of bacon, eggs, and toast for breakfast like I did today? No, I don't share my bacon, even with a cuties like this. No, they're very healthy. Breakfast is a salad, leafy greens, some vegetables, a little bit of fruit. But lunch and supper is when they eat the gross stuff. They eat crickets, cockroaches, worms, even the odd little mouse as a snack once in a while. Now, obviously, it's a little too cold outside with all that snowy and wonderful stuff happening outside. But in the summer, when it's nice, if I'm not too busy, sometimes I take her to the park. I have a little leash and I call her like a little puppy for her. I try to take her for walks, but she just sits there. And people point and laugh at Steve because he's got a lazy lizard on a leash not doing anything. So what I'll do instead is I usually pick her up and I throw her on my shoulder. Like a pirate's got a pair. I got my bearded dragon, walk her in the park for a little while. But after a bit, if she gets bored or wants a better view, up onto Steve's head she goes. Yeah. And then people definitely point and laugh, and I hope she doesn't poop and make a mess up there. Now, if you're looking for a reptile pet, these guys are pretty awesome. They're one of the more probably popular reptile pets. Now, they're not going to be very affordable to get. The lizard itself is probably the cheapest part. You're going to get one for maybe $100 to $200, which is not bad. They live 12 to 15 years if you take really good care of them. But the thing is, that cute little lizard, they grow really fast. So there's no point buying a small, then a medium, then a large enclosure. You just buy the large enclosure, which is about 2 feet by 4 feet. So that's probably a $300 to $500 enclosure, depending whether you go glass or plastic, blah, blah, blah. But then it's all the enclosure stuff and then the lights. Because it comes from Australia, you need special lights and special heat. You usually need a UV light across the whole top and then a heat spot to keep them nice and warm. Those lights, they only last 6 months to a year, depending on how much you spend on them. The cheaper ones last shorter, the more expensive ones last longer. But you could be spending about $100 a year on just lighting. And then there's the salad every day, and then there's the bugs every day. It does add up. So they are pretty expensive, but they're awesome, and they're very personable, as you can see. I do have a couple other options we'll introduce you to in a moment here that are a little bit better, but honestly, this is one of my favorites. This is what I started with. I've always had reptiles and animals and amphibians that I found outside. But the first one I actually bought from a pet store and brought home was the bearded dragon, because I went to the pet store my sister was working at, and I didn't want a hamster, I didn't want a bird, I didn't want a fish. I was like, what else is there? I wasn't supposed to have the cat I had in my apartment. Shh. So I was like, a lizard? It's spiky, eats bugs? That's pretty cool. I did some research, found out about them, spent way too much money at PetSmart, and then brought one home. But they are pretty awesome. Let's see who's next. This one here usually travels in a little shoebox. It's got some holes in the lid for some fresh air. We have a heat pad in there when we're traveling in the winter. But my next friend travels around in a pillowcase. What do you guys think might be in a pillowcase? Let's see. It feels long and round. It feels like an elephant's trunk. I think it's a baby elephant. What do you guys think? That would be terrifying as a tarantula. I don't think it's a tarantula. Any other guesses? Okay, let's take a vote. Hands up if you think it's an elephant. Thank you, sir, Mr. Tarantula. Okay, who thinks it's a snake? No. I'm not even going to look. I'm just going to shove my hand in the pillow, grab whatever's here, and pull it out. Ah! You were right. It's a snake. It's a snaky snake. This is my friend, Kalua. And Kalua here is a ball python. She's called that because when she gets scared, like maybe a couple of you might be a little scared, she actually roll up into a ball and she protects her head in the center. She says, if I can't see you're not there, I'm nice and safe. But as you can see, Kalua does not care. She's a very friendly snake. Also called a royal python because in Africa where she's found, they would use them as necklace. The royalty wear them as a necklace or even as a bracelet. But can you imagine trying to run around here and play with your friends with a bracelet like this? That'd be ridiculous. You'd be dragging your arm by the end of the day. So for jewelry, they use little babies. Because this lady here, she's full size. She's pretty big. Well, I guess as far as the python, she's not that large. After we're done our show here, I'm going to bring out my friend Popcorn. He's sitting in the box over there. Popcorn is just shy of 14 feet and about 50 pounds. Yeah, he's a big boy. But he's not even 10 years old. I think he's maybe 10, 11 years old. Her, she's 22 years old. And she won't get any bigger. She's been this big since she's about 7 or 8 years old. She won't get any larger. In captivity, these guys can live 50 to 60 years. It's around for a long time. They are a very easy pet to take care of. When they're younger as a baby, they're eating every week. Then it becomes every 2 weeks. Then it's every 3 weeks. At this point, she eats every 2 months. One jumbo rat the size of both of my fists. We warm them up out of the freezer. She eats it whole. She digests it for about a week, goes to the bathroom, and she's good to go for another couple months. With Popcorn I was telling you about, he eats every 6 to 8 months, roughly, depending what he eats. If it's a big goat or some pigs or chickens, it can be a longer time. If it's a smaller meal like some rats or rabbits, it might be a little shorter, but in the wild, they can go 12 to 14 months between meals. Pretty crazy. Now, a lot of people think my snaky friend here is just a big tail with a face, but they actually have body parts. Obviously, their arms or legs like we have, but after the beautiful face on their head there, they have a long neck. The neck goes from behind their head to about here. You'll see it starts to get a little bit thicker. That's where the body is, where the organs are, like the heart, lungs, kidney, stomach, intestines, all the way around down there. And then lastly, her tail is only this little bit. Because she spends most of the time on the ground, she doesn't need a long tail for hanging in the tree, so she has a really short, stubby little tail. You can tell because it gets narrow here, and that's the snake's bum that Steve's touching. It's okay. It's clean. She hasn't pooped in like 2 months, so we're good. Now let's see. 1 second. Andrew here. Next up. Bring on my friend Leonard. Oh, he's so cute. So this is Leonard. Leonard is a leopard gecko. He comes from the Middle East. They're a very common reptile pet, and they're pretty awesome. We'll tell you a little bit more about them in a second. Now, this guy, being in the Middle East, he comes from a desert, and when he lives, he can't always find food or water. So when he does, he eats and drinks as much as he can. Now, when Steve eats and drinks too much, he gets a big fat belly. But when this guy eats and drinks a lot, he gets a big fat tail. He stores his fat back here. So the more fat he has, the bigger his tail is. And the cool thing is that can help him because he can go 3-4 months without food if he has to. If he's got a nice big fat tail, it helps him. The other cool thing is he can do is while he's out there looking for food and water in the desert, if there's a mean predator, let's say a bird of prey flying around, wants to eat him, they're smart, but they're not very nice. They're going to fly down, hit him on his head, and then eat him up. So what he does is he tricks them. He takes his big fat tail that's got spots like his head, he lifts that up, he wiggles it back and forth. He says, Mr. Predator, you should bite this instead. And when the predator comes around and goes to bite his tail, he doesn't even let them. He goes, ejecto tailo. He shoots his tail right off his butt. Pew! And it wiggles around for 3 to 5 minutes. So the predator's like, oh, look, this is so much fun. He's like, I'm out of here. He can run away and actually go and grow a whole new tail. It's like an extra life right on his butt. It's pretty handy. When it goes back, though, it looks really silly. Right now, it's kind of longer. You'll feel it's got some little bumps and ridges. It's kind of like a carrot. If it grows back, though, it grows back like a big water balloon. It's like he's got a big bubble butt. It's pretty funny. If you're ever looking to buy one of these as a pet, you do want to look at their tail. If it's pencil thin, they're skinny, they're not healthy. If it's really, really fat, again, not super healthy. You want to have a good middle size about this for them to be healthy. As far as the pet, they're easy to take care of. Usually set them up in about a 25 to 30 gallon fish tank. Obviously no water, not fishes. Some sand or rock on the bottom, little cave for them to hide in, some sticks to climb around on, little water dish. They don't need special lights because they are nocturnal, so they're spending most of their time up at night and sleeping during the day. You do need a little bit of heat from a heat pad or heat lamp because they come from the Middle East. They like a little bit warmer on one side. And they do have to have bugs. They do eat crickets, cockroaches, and worms every 2 or 3 days, so a couple times in a week. But one of the nicest things with these guys is they almost always go to the bathroom in the same spot, which is kind of nice because most geckos and lizards and reptiles in general tend to poop everywhere. Like my next friend I'm going to bring out, you'll be like, oh, it's so cute, I love him, I want one. No. No. If there's anything you take away from today, it's that this is the horriblest, worstest thing ever. Don't do it. Where are you? There you are. No! No. Bad. Yes, he is cute. This is Marvin. Marvin is a musk turtle. Now, the reason he's called a musk turtle is his defense is to musk. You want to know what a musk is? It's a wet fart. Yep. Have you ever picked up a garter snake and all of a sudden it got really wet and stinky and gross? That's a musk. A lot of reptiles do it as a defense because it works. You go, put them down, go wash your hands. It works out really well. Now, luckily, this is about as big as he gets. He stays nice and small. He's about 11 or 12 years old and won't get any bigger. Now, the reason I say turtles are terrible pets is, first off, they live in poop soup. Even with a really good filter, they live in a toilet. It's disgusting. They poop a lot. And when they eat their food, they only swallow about half of what they chew. So the rest of that food sits around rotting and getting gross and stinky. So you have to do water changes. You have to pump all the water out and put fresh water in at least once a week. And you will splash poop soup in your face. Trust me. It's awesome. So then you go like, okay, hi, Mr. Turtle. Let's go play outside. What are you doing with a turtle? Not running races, not playing soccer, not going for a bike ride. You're not doing anything. You might as well have a rock for a pet. The other problem is you have a poop soup rock that lives for 60 years. Other problem is this guy's about a $500 turtle. Whose mom and dad here is buying a $500 turtle plus a setup? No, they're not. Nope. Instead, they go buy the cute little red-eared slider, a little bit smaller than this, 40, 50 bucks. Put it in a 10, 15 gallon tank, 100 bucks. Here, Tommy, here's your turtle. Problem is, after 4 or 5 years of Tommy playing with his turtle in poop soup and being boarded with a rock, mom and dad are the ones taking care of it. They go, you know what? Now Tommy that was small is the size of a dinner plate in 4 or 5 years, needs a bigger tank or a pond. They're not spending the hundreds to $1,000 on a bigger tank or a pond. So they go, here, Steve, take the turtle. Turtles, specifically the red-eared slider, the one that everyone sees at the pet store, is one of the worst and most rescued reptile pets. My friend has a sanctuary near Toronto, and he's lucky he has a warm enough climate. He can keep most of his turtles out through the year in ponds outside. He has over 350 turtles. He has not bought one of them. He has people that are silly enough to throw turtles over his fence or just leave them in boxes at his door because he cannot get them adopted out faster than he can get them surrendered because they live 60 to 70 years and people get bored in 4 or 5. Do not get a turtle. Sorry, good thing you got a shell. If you absolutely need a shelled friend, there are other options. You could look at getting a tortoise, which is on the land, so you're not dealing with a poop soup. Keep in mind, the ones that stay small are more expensive than the ones that get big. So if it's a $100 turtle, it's most likely tortoise going to get this big. If it's about a $500-600 tortoise, it might stay small. But keep in mind that's living 80 to 100 years. So you will be putting that in your will for your kids and your grandkids. The one in the middle that's kind of a good option-ish for depending who really likes them would be a box turtle. Box turtles live on the ground. They're an omnivore, so they eat everything. They don't need too much water. They only live 50 years or so. So that might be another little option. Now, before I put my friend here away, do you want to know something really funny? All right, so here in Manitoba, we have 2 turtles. We got our snapping turtles and our painted turtles. They live in all the ponds, lakes, and rivers like we got here in Selkirk. But when we have winter and there's ice over the water, they can't come up for a fresh breath of air. They don't hold their breath all winter. They don't have gills to breathe underwater. They don't hibernate. Do you want to know how turtles breathe underwater? Through their butts! You're right! It is an anal respiratory system. They pull the water in through their butts, kind of like fish's gills. They pull up the oxygen in the water and then release it. But then my question is, what happens if they fart while they're breathing through their butts? Do they get stinky fart breath? I don't know. I don't know. All right, let's put you there. Do you guys want to see something fuzzy? Oh, what do you think of this fuzzy? Don't worry, he's staying in his box, which is... Oh, no, it's open. No, it's closed. Um, so this is my buddy, Harry. And Harry here is a tarantula. He is a curly-haired tarantula from South America, Honduras specifically. And he is, I think, right now, pardon me, 4 or 5 years old. The boys sadly only get to live 8 to 10 years, but the girls can live 18 to 20, so they get almost twice as long. And they don't get quite twice as big, but they do get quite a little bit larger. Now, if we were out in Honduras looking for some cool geckos and snakes, do you think he would just run up and bite us for no reason? No, he just wants to see some bugs, plays with his friends, get a suntan. Then we're the ones that come up, we're like, scary spider should squish it, step on it, kick it, punch it. And he doesn't want to get squished, so he's going to defend himself, and he's nice enough not to just run up and bite you and run away, which he could do. Instead, he gives us a warning. First thing he does, he'll take one of his back legs, he rubs it up and down around on his abdomen, that's the around bum part. And all the hairs on there that look like they might be fuzzy and fun to pet, they're not. They're barbed on the end, they're prickly and pokey, they're called ursicating hairs. If they get on your hands and face, you'll be so busy itching and scratching, hopefully you'll just leave them alone, which is why we don't pet my friends here. It's not fun. If you ever felt pink fiberglass insulation and how fun that is, same idea. Not good. You can actually go blind if you get them into your eye. So we don't want to mess with that. So that's the first warning. Next thing he does, he'll turn right around. He lifts up his arms and legs in the front to make himself look as big as possible, and he flexes his fangs and says, "Look what I got, buddy, the pointy, sharp, and full of venom. You don't leave me alone, I'm going to bite you with them." So I've now had 2 chances just to walk away and leave him alone. If I don't, I'm being silly. 3 strikes, Steve's out. He's going to bite me. But lucky for me, his bite's no worse than a bee sting. Between a bee sting and a mosquito bite. So as long as you're not allergic like I am, you don't have anything to worry about. Now, I used to handle some of us. We had Rosie. Rosie was a rose-haired tarantula, and she was the sweetest little princess. I had her since she was young, and I would handle her. I had no fears. And I've been bit by bees or stung by bees, and it's not fun, but it's not going to kill me. So I'm not too worried. But this guy, he's a little newer, and while Kenzie will handle him, I'm not exactly comfortable, so I'm just going to leave him in here. I also have to be careful because sometimes people want to be brave and try and hold the spider. If they're not as brave as they think they are, they could potentially hurt or even kill my spider because spiders, they don't have bones inside their body like we do. They have an exoskeleton. It's like a shell, like a crab or a crayfish. But what that also means is they're stuck this size. But if someone's holding them and they get scared or they drop her, what happens if you drop a chicken egg? It cracks and the yolk comes out. Same thing, her skin, her shell would crack and her heart would pump her blood out. She doesn't have veins. Her heart just pumps her whole shell full of blood to keep her moving around. So if it's a small crack, you can put some super glue on it, like a Band-Aid, and it'll actually be okay. If it's too big, she could die. But what that also means is he can't get any bigger. He's stuck this size because he's in a shell. So when he wants to grow up, he has to shed or molt his skin. He'll actually turn upside down, push his skin with his legs all the way off, puff up to get bigger, and then harden into a new shell, leaving a whole exoskeleton shell behind. That's why if you're ever cleaning up around the house, maybe the garage, around the windowsills, there's some cobwebs, looks like a little shell of a spider, that just means there's a bigger spider running around the house now. You're welcome. The last thing is, some people think, oh, is it poisonous or is it venomous? These guys are venomous. The difference being that in most parts of the world, it's considered toxic. Don't mess with it. But in North America and Canada, poison is something you're going to ingest. So you eat something, gives you food poisoning, makes you feel kind of sick. Or maybe you're outside in the bush, you get some poison ivy, absorbs into your skin. But venom has to be injected through the fangs of a tarantula, a stinger of a scorpion, fangs of a cobra, or rattlesnake. So if it bites you, it's venomous. And if you bite it, it's poisonous. There you go. All right. Oh, careful. You stay there. Whoop. Clean up in aisle 4. Paper towel, please. Well, thank you. Yeah. That's the fresh one. All right. After that disgusting moment. Anyway, this is my buddy Steve. I did not name him. He came with that name. Now, as I mentioned earlier, most of these animals were other people's pets. They surrendered to us or we rescued for whatever reason. Steve is one that we actually purchased, that we got a really good deal on him because he came from a friend of ours out of Alberta, because he's special. Pardon me. I'll tell you why he's special in a moment. But Steve here is a corn snake. They're one of the more common ones. Your two best pets to start with as far as snakes go would be the ball python I first showed you or a corn snake. The main difference between having the two is ball pythons are shorter, fatter, eat a larger meal less frequently and are less active, where corn snakes get a little bit longer but are skinnier and eat more frequently and are more active. If you want something you can put around your neck and just watch a movie, ball python. If you want something to put around your neck and then be pulling out of the couch in 10 minutes, corn snake. A little bit different. Now, the reason he's called a corn snake, he's found in the United States of America around farmers' fields, bins, and barns, a lot of the area around here. Where they're going to have a lot of mice, rats, and other rodents because mice and rats love all the stuff on the farm, and this guy loves the mice and rats. So farmers don't mind having him around for some free rodent control. And he has a special tool for finding those mice and rats on the farm, and that's his tongue. What's he doing with that tongue when he sticks it out? He's smelling. Technically, what he does is he takes his tongue, he wiggles it around, he collects all the scent particles, smells all the little stinkers around here, and he rubs it between his eyes and nose where he has a Jacobson's organ. It's like a little computer in his head. And it tells him when those smells is something he could eat, like a mouse or a rat. And the coolest part is because that tongue is forked like a Y, he can smell left and right, kind of how we hear left and hear right. If someone were to knock on the front doors over there, my left ear would hear it. I know which way to see where the people are knocking. Just like him, if it smells more mousy left or right, he knows which way to find food. Imagine you can do that. I'm hungry. Where's some food? So you go up to the canteen or head out the window of the car. McDonald's, cheeseburgers over there. Wouldn't that be a fantastic way to find food? Now, the reason Steve is special is he is actually scaleless. He does not have scales. Scales are not their skin. People think the scales are their skin, but it's not. Scales are like fur, feathers, or our arm hair. If you shave your arm, it's nice and smooth, and that's essentially what he's like. And the reason we got him is because sometimes people don't want to touch a snake because it's scaly. Well, I'll be like, hey, Steve's not scaly. They touch me and it feels just like normal skin. Like, oh, that's not too bad. They're like, you know what? Maybe I will touch a snake. And then they'll touch a ball python. And I go, Steve wins because you touch snakes. So it's a good sort of gateway snake to get people to touch them that they might not be too interested in. People also think that snakes don't have any bones because they are so flexible, but they do have their spine, lots of ribs. But even as such, you can tie him into a knot. Hey, no, this way. There. Now he's a naughty snake, or like a pretzel. All right, going to put him back in his poop bag, and I will be right back with you in a moment. See, I told you someone pooped in here, and I smelt it. I knew it was him. All right. I got one more for you. Now, this is one of my favorites. This is my friend Little Peanut. Peanut here is a crested gecko or a crestie. They come from New Caledonia, an island out by Australia. Coolest part about them is they were thought to be extinct like the dinosaurs up until 1994. So just 31 years ago, they found they were actually hiding really, really well. They grabbed a bunch of other pet store, and they're one of the most popular reptile pets. These guys are awesome. They live about 12 to 15 years. You usually find them in Winnipeg for about $100 and set them up for about another 100 or so. Being a boreal gecko, they live up in the trees. So unlike Leonard the leopard gecko who lives down on the ground as a terrestrial gecko, these guys are up in the trees, so they have sticky toes. See? But he's missing something. What's he missing? His tail. He should have a nice long tail like on my shirt. But if they lose their tail, they can't grow it back like other geckos, unfortunately. They got one try. That's it. But if they had that gecko, they can hang from it like a monkey, which is pretty awesome. One of the other things he's missing, though, is on his face. What's he missing on his face? He has no eyelids. He can't close his eyes or blink, so you do not want to have a staring contest with him. He's a Grandmaster champion. He can't blink. But if his eyes get dry, dusty, or dirty, how does he clean them? He licks them. Big long tongue comes to either side, licks his whole face like a windshield wiper on the car. Nice and clean. These guys are probably one of your better pets because, again, they're affordable. Set them up for $200, $250. You need a taller tank with some leaves and some little vines. These guys do not eat bugs. They will have the odd one as a snack if you want to give them a little treat. But in the wild, they're eating rotting fruit, nectars, and sap. So they developed a crested gecko diet. It's honestly like pudding powder. You get a little powder, mix it with water. You eat a bottle cap's worth every 2 to 3 days. So a $20, $30 bag of food is going to last you about a year. for these guys. So they are very affordable. The only real work with them is you do have to mist them once or twice a day with a little bottle of water because they come from a humid rainforest. They like it a little bit more moist, and they won't lick water out of a bowl. They typically lick it off of the plants. If you're gone for a weekend, what we tell with our gecko rental program, which I'll talk about in a second, we have them just take a water bottle, poke a hole in the bottom, put it on top, so it just has a constant drip, and that gives them water, humidity, and stuff to drink up. We do offer a gecko rental, a rent-to-own option with these guys. So if it's something you wanted to test out, it was mainly geared for daycares and schools to have a month-to-month option of having a gecko pet in the classroom. We've had a lot of parents that want to try it out with the idea that if it doesn't work, it can get returned to us, plus they have all the support, and we give you the enclosure, everything set up, ready to go. If it is a daycare situation, we also provide you a presentation. So if that's something, grab one of our cards. We can get you some more information. I want to thank you so much for coming to check out our interactive animal experience. You're welcome to hang around. We've got the animals on display outside. I'm going to be pulling out popcorn here, our big 13-foot Burmese python in a moment, so you guys can check them out. But have yourselves a great day, and thank you very much for coming.